Hey there, hello, and welcome to another episode with Practical Show Tech. Today, we're joined by Timo from the beautiful country of Finland,
Hello.
and I'm jealous. It's now it's a little later over there, so thanks for taking your evening and spending it with us, Timo. One of the neat things that we've discovered coming out of this outbreak is our friends around the world. And whether they're people that we work with, whether they're people that share the same interest, whether they're in the industry. Timo's another great example of somebody. It's like, hey, I don't know you, but would you like to come together and talk about a topic? And 6 months ago, maybe a little different answer, right? But today, thank you, Timo, for taking the call, if you will. And Wavetool, I'd seen Wavetool prior to this, and really great looking program, and a lot of great features. And like everybody, we were very busy, and we're like, we're doing shows, and then we are not doing shows. So that's all right. One of the cool outcomes is all that brain, Pete, we were talking about the kernel processes in laptops, right? And my that kernel up in this melon of mine doesn't have a lot of processors in it. So it was maxing out pretty good. And this time frame has helped me to just kind of clean that out and say, hey, I can listen now in a way I never did, and talk about topics and listen about topics. So today, Wavetool, a lot of people are like, but I have, wireless workbench, or I have WSM, or I have wireless designer. Why do I need Wavetool? Isn't that just another management software? Or, hey, you know what? I'll just get Wavetool and I don't have to use any of these other tools, right? Well, no, they're complementary, right? Wavetool is about bringing audio monitoring with RF monitoring along with that, but from the user's perspective, that A2 role, that is not about plotting RF solutions and inputting all that information. It's about, hey, my system's up and running and I need to be watching 5 channels, or I need to be watching 100 channels. How do I do that with a single application, right? I don't want to have 4 or 5 windows open at a time trying to do a show. So Timo is going to take us through that. But before he does, Pete, Mac, it's kind of that normal time of the day when we say hello to the audience. And I think a lot of people do understand. I saw from registration, we have some folks from outside the US watching live today. So let's maybe talk them through how the questions will work and when we can expect those to kind of pop up in the presentation.
Sure. Well, for those of you who are new here, we do answer questions. There's in your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a pull down that says questions, and that will open up a little window where you can, down at the bottom, you can enter your questions. We will be reading them and answering them. Certainly at the end, we'll see how Timo's presentation goes. There may be stops for questions in the middle, but we will be checking all the questions and we will try to get to every topic. Might not be every specific question, but we would like to get to every single topic. Be specific in your questions so that we know what you're speaking about, because they won't be answered as soon as you enter them. And a few minutes later, it may not be clear what your question was referring to. Sometimes as topics move on and then we stop for questions, a question that's not specific, it's very hard to understand what you're asking. So it will be helpful to make them specific. Same holds true for just, comments or responses to something. If you just put in yeah, I do that too, but that has no context. I have no idea what you're talking about. So don't feel bad if we don't mention your name, because we didn't answer your specific question, but we will try to get to every topic that is asked about and get everything done in the time allotted. Pete?
We will be making a note of when in the video, yes, it is recorded, when in the video these questions are answered. So if you want to scrub directly to that in the video to find the answer to a question, you can do that. And occasionally we will actually probably answer you directly in the GoToWebinar control panel if it's a question that really has nothing to do with Wavetool, but something that we can answer directly, and we'll answer those so everybody sees the answer. Not everybody will see the questions. Only we will see the questions when they come in. So Timo, go ahead and take it over.
Thank you very much, and yeah, thank you very much for having me on this webinar. It's really nice to get to talk about Wavetool once again, and yeah. So we started with Wavetool 2015 when we found out that we couldn't find a solution where within a single software you could monitor like 100 of channels of audio while simultaneously monitor the RF levels, battery life, quality level of the receivers. And we kind of tried to find a solution, and we find out that you always had to use a mixing console plus the manufacturer's own software plus maybe another chat software. And we started 2015. So the company is called Wavemark and the product is called Wavetool. As Kelly told, we are based in Finland, and we came up with the first commercial version of Wavetool 2016. And now 2020, we are on a version 3, which we've added a lot of features since the very first launch of Wavetool. I'm gonna first share my screen to you and then go through a couple of examples where Wavetool is used before I dive into the software itself. So the first picture is from the last summer. This is probably the biggest Wavetool setup ever done. It had 324 channels of Shure Accent digital receivers. The festival name is down here, but I don't even try to pronounce it. And it was in Switzerland. They had 4 Mac Mini computers running Wavetool, because one Wavetool can monitor up to 128 audio channels. So with 4 computers, they could actually cover the 324 channels of audio from the Accent digital receivers. So basically this room is the tech room next to the stage. And then they had 1.5 kilometers from this room, they had a place where they mic'd up the actors. They had a fiber running from this room to the place, and they had a iPads there, Wavetool iPads there, so that they could stream the audio and listen to the audio and see the battery life and the RF levels before they handed over the microphones to the actors. So this is probably the biggest Wavetool setup ever done last summer. There's a couple of other examples. This is from a theater in Paris where they have a digital 6000 receivers, and they are getting the audio to Wavetool from the Digico SD rack. So there's a MIDI feed from the SD rack to a Wavetool computer right here, and then they got the control data from the switch down here. So with this setup, they were able to monitor again the 40 something channels of audio, plus then they had the iPads and also a remote computer at front of house so that they could chat between front of house and stage and dressing room with Wavetool chat. There's a one nice looking front of house office from Andre Rieu concerts where a solo tech was providing the gear, and this is actually the front of house system tech office where they can also listen to more than 100 channels of audio while seeing the RF levels. And if there's a problem with violin 7, for example, it's easy for the system tech to tell the front of house mixer that there's actually now a problem and communicate quickly about the problems in the on stage microphones. Not only wireless microphones, but the wired violins, for example. Here's another example from a live concert. I don't know the location where this was, but they had a Axiom digital receivers run into a Wavetool and wireless workbench simultaneously so that they could coordinate the frequencies. They could set up the frequencies with the wireless workbench, and when the show began, they could listen to the audio and see the quality levels and the RF levels from the receivers. Another example from kind of a theater production called the 4045. This was in, I believe, in Belgium, and they had a huge system, hundreds of channels of audio, not only RF microphones, but a lot of also wired microphones. And this is the one of the 5 locations where they used Wavetool to monitor audio and RF signals at the same time. That's from a National Theatre London. So they had some newer kit, but also some a bit older stuff from Amiga times. So they had some Sennheiser 1046s, and both of these receivers are supported in Wavetool. So you can also mix and match. So you don't have to only monitor the newest models of 3 receivers, but you also have a support for some older models. And this is probably the really typical example of how Wavetool is used on live concerts, for example. Here's some 16 channels of RF, and it's just directly Dante routed to the MacBook Pro and running Dante Virtual Sound Card. And then there's also a MIDI feed simultaneously coming to the laptop through RME MIDI or something like that, and they are able to the monitor tech is able to listen to any channel without interrupting the monitor engineer. Here's the kind of a flow chart of basic Wavetool setup, and this is pretty much what I'm using at the moment to show how the Wavetool works. So I have a Mac Mini running Dante Virtual Sound Card, and from a digital receiver which has a Dante output, I'm getting the Dante audio signal directly to my Mac. On the other hand, I'm also interested about the RF levels and battery levels. So I'm getting the control data from the receivers through another switch to my computer as well. I do have a touchscreen on this setup as well, so it's easy to access to any channel or groups of channel using touchscreen. Instead of a Dante-enabled headphone amplifier, I'm sending the audio to you from Wavetool to GoToMeeting platform. I also have an iOS device, so iPad, which is connected to the same switch with the master Wavetool. So I'm able to stream wirelessly the audio to my iPad, and I also have another computer in this setup so that I can also chat and listen to the audio and monitor what's going on, for example, on front of house position. So going to the software itself, as I told you, the audio side, you can use any audio source your Mac can detect. So any core audio device that will show up on your audio MIDI setup, any of these devices that I see on my computer could be used as a audio source of Wavetool. For example, this Octacapture, that's just a USB device. And also it can be an aggregate device. So it could be multiple devices that you use as your input and or output device. I have a pre-made file here. So some of you have probably figured out that the green trace here on the channel, this is the main window and the main channel view. You can see here 96 channels. And I've done a setup where I have orange channels, which are band channels, and then I have some actors with their pictures and names. And in this Hamilton channel number 21, I can see my own voice as a green audio trace. Up here, I have three different tools. So on the first tool, if I select a channel, I will solo a channel and send it to my Q bus. The next tool up here on the left-hand corner will open up a zoom window of that particular channel. And the last tool right here will both solo a channel and open up a timeline or zoom window. So now if I solo a channel that you can see the audio coming in, you probably will hear the audio as well. So there's a way to monitor single or multiple channels, and I can also build a audio group. So now if I solo a band group, you will hear the whole band at once. So it's fairly easy to, you can probably imagine using it with a touchscreen. It's pretty easy to access to any channel very quickly. And if you hold one channel more than 1 second, it will hard solo it. So it will set up the channel as hard solo. And it means that if I have some other channel soloed and I press solo clear up on the menu here, it won't unsolo this channel until I press it again 1.5 seconds or whatever is your preference. Also, if you have hard solo channels, if you press the solo clear 1.5 seconds, it will clear all the solos. We made hard solo for applications where you might have your comms routed to Wavetool. So you could have your comms left and right here. You could easily listen to channels, and then if someone's talking to your comms, you will be hearing them all the time. So they will always kind of override what's going on here. Then when I open up a timeline from a channel from this tool in the middle, I will see a 5-minute history of the audio. Actually, before going to that, I will explain a bit more of the main window. So here you can see the channel number, and then you probably see still my camera. So I'm wearing a belt pack to my microphone, and you can see the A and B antennas. And if I take the antenna away, I will be muted, but you will also see that the A and B channel antennas will disappear. On the next right from the antenna indicators, there's a battery life of my transmitter. So I still have 6 hours and 40 minutes left to talk to you in this webinar. And then on here, you can see a orange trace, which again has something to do with the RF level. So if I take off the antenna, I try to, so you can see that the RF starts dropping when I take out the antenna. It's always the top level of the A and B antennas. So it's kind of the better value that we show on the main screen. You can also see the quality level of the receiver. That, of course, it needs to have it on the receiver, so the quality level can be seen from so Sennheiser D6000, D9000, Accent Digital, and I believe Visicom 980. So those are the receivers that actually show this quality value, which nowadays is pretty useful information with the digital receivers. Now I'm going to open up the Zoom window from this Hamilton channel, which happens to be my own audio channel. And on the upper left corner, I can turn on and off different traces. The first, again, the green one is the audio, which you can see 5-minute history. You can zoom in with the slider here, and then there's a way to scroll to a place where you want to see what was going on. Then if I click on the timeline, we have a feature called instant replay. It means that Wavetool records 5-minute history of every channel if they are or if they are enabled from the channel IO. So Wavetool records 5-minute history of the channels, of the wanted channels, and uses kind of a ring buffer so that after 5 minutes the data will be thrown away. So it doesn't, your computer will be fine even if you add more channels. It uses the RAM for this recording. I'm just going to quickly show it to you. So if I click my own channel, let's say 4 minutes ago, you start hearing my voice, what I just said around 4 minutes ago. Below for applications where you might have your channel number and 40 minutes that actually show this quality. So I can easily jump anywhere in that timeline to listen if I had a problem in a channel, and I can then decide if it was a RF drop or if it was just a kind of some earring or whatever hitting the headset, or was it the broken cable maybe. It's much easier to go back in time and listen to it a couple of times more to know what the problem maybe was. To give you an example, if I again take my belt pack and I will pull out the connector and put it back, and let's see what happens. So in the main channel window in Hamilton channel, you can see that this channel here turned red. That is because there's an algorithm in Wavetool called Snack, Crackle, and Pop, which detects unnatural audio signal, not just the audio clip, but if there's some strange problems with your, let's say you're using a headset or a lav mic and you have a microdot connector that is a bit loose, you very well know the noise that comes from that, and it's easy to see which channel had a problem. But also in timeline, you can see the red marker on that place where the alert happened. I can clear the alert on the main screen by pushing alert reset, but on the timeline the marker will stay. And then if I have instant replay on for that channel, I can easily go and I can go here and start listening to it. So let's listen what it sounded like to and put it back, and let's see what happens. There we go. So that's instant replay. And that works for, this is now the master Wavetool where the audio and RF receivers are connected. But the instant replay also works on the iOS devices and the Mac OS remote version, which I show you in a bit. About the instant replay, if you're still not sure what just happened a couple of minutes ago, but you want to investigate it later, you can easily just export the audio by pushing export audio. It will do a timestamp, name your channel, do a timestamp, and then you can save this trace to your computer. And then if I try to see, so in here we have now Hamilton WAV file, but we also have a screen capture of that particular moment. So it's easy to see what happened. You can save both the JPEG and the WAV file to your computer. So on one page, you can have 128 audio channels. Now I have 96, and that is because I've hidden, there's a panel A and B. I've hidden the rest of the channels to panel B. So for example, on panel B, you can keep your not so important channels like hot dog or, ensemble, spares or whatever. And on the panel A, you can have your main channels that you want to see all the time and have a fast access to. Then if I jump to another computer, so now let's keep in mind that this is now the Wavetool master computer, and up here on the left upper corner it says Wavetool. I'm just going to jump to another computer, and it says Wavetool 3 remote. On this computer, I have a totally independent audio mix from the audio stream. So for example, if here I solo channel 23, I jump back to my main computer. Here I can solo different channels. So this means that you can have up to 5 different listening station locations where every listening station has its own independent audio mix. And the audio mix is done by the master computer. So going back to another computer, you can also organize your channels differently. So for example, if you want not to see the kick drum here, or you want to move it somewhere else, you can easily move it by using a edit function. So you can go to edit mode, and then if I want to move this kick drum somewhere else, I just drag and drop it, and now it's right here. Here's my kick drum. And then if I go back to another computer, it's still on its original place. So again, the audio mix and the channel layout is independent for the master Wavetool plus all the 4 additional listening stations. Then if I want to chat, if I have something to say to, let's think about that this is now the stage end computer, which is close to the RF receivers and the audio source. I can open up a chat window, and then I can type in anything like not yet. And then if I go to my front of house computer, open up a chat window, I can see that Wavetool Master just told me not yet. I can also pre-program some macro buttons. So let's think if I'm mixing with my Yamaha or Digigo console, I might have not time to write anything with my keyboard and mouse, but I can easily just push a button saying OK, or order McDonald's meal if that's something that you want to do. You can also send a flash message. So if the chat goes to your regular let's have a coffee and all that thing, and then there's suddenly really kind of an emergency where you need to draw attention, you can send it as a flash message like this. And let's take a look at what it shows. So in the front of house computer, there's a kind of a chat notifier saying, kind of drawing your attention. It will pop up on top of all the softwares in this computer, even if you're on if you're on a wireless workbench or some other software, it will pop up on top of it, and it will disappear when you push the chat notifier. Then I want to go to, just a moment. So this was here the Wavetool remote computer. This can be front of house or dressing room or located to some other location where you also need to monitor what's going on. But you might want to also have a mobile device like an iOS, iPad or iPhone. And I'm just going to show, here's now a screen capture of my iPad. It looks a bit different. Basically, all the basic channel information is the same as in the master or remote Wavetool. The grid is 8x8, whereas on my, for example, remote, the grid can be scaled, so I can scale this how I wish. It depends on my my display. So now I get 14 channels wide and some 7 channels deep, but the iPad is always 8x8. And all the channels, if you have 128 channels, you can scroll all the way down and you still see all the channels, but you need to scroll. The same thing here, you can solo a channel or multiple channels. You can solo a group. You can build this groups like you had on the master Wavetool, and you can also listen to the audio. So now I'm gonna push this stream button here, and now it starts streaming wirelessly to from the master Wavetool Mac computer to my iOS device. Up here it shows the network quality, which at the moment is 100, and if it drops, it depends on your Wi-Fi access point. If it drops down 40 or 30, you might lose the connection. So my advice would be that if you want to have a working listening station, you should always have a wired connection. So if you go to a corporate event with Wi-Fi, it's probably not going to work. During the day when you do a line check, it might work really well, but during the show, keep in mind that prepare with a wired connection always. There's a way to, you hopefully see still my camera, so there's a way to connect an iPad or iPhone with a wired Ethernet adapter to your Wavetool. It's called Apple Camera Kit, and then an Ethernet connection on the other end of the device, and then you can have, you will know that the connection will work because it's wired connection. So now I'm streaming the audio, and then if I solo the guitar, for example, from here, you should now hopefully hear the guitar from my iOS device. So it's pretty easy to walk about the stage while miking up. If you have, let's say you have 100 violins in an orchestra pit, it's fairly easy to have your iPad and iOS device walk to the pit, tap the mic with your pen or whatever is your preference, and listen to the audio and know that everything's working. By pressing the stream buffer, depends on your wireless network, you can set your streaming buffer between 50 milliseconds to 3 seconds. So you can adjust if the Wi-Fi is not working well, you can add a bit latency and make it more stable. Talking about the latencies, if I go back to my main computer, so the audio latency here, down here, you can see that I'm using the 48 kilohertz sample rate, and Wavetool with 48 kilohertz sample rate is 2.6 milliseconds of latency. So that's nothing. And then, of course, when you go to your iOS device, because of the Wi-Fi network and because of the audio streaming, you will add quite a bit of latency. And although some people use it as the advantage, they do so that they add a couple of seconds of latency. And when they check microphone, violin microphone, for example, they say violin 1, check 1, 2, and then they hear their own voice a few seconds later, so they don't mask the sound with their own voice while checking the connector or the microphone. On the iOS device, you can also chat with anyone. So you can basically just swipe right, and it will take it to your chat window. And as you can see, I've had the burger meal order and all the messages that I sent before. And here I can also type in what I wish, like this. And I will get my own color. So it will automatically do one color for every chat member. I can also select who to chat to. So that was my Wavetool master, that's desktop, and this is to everyone in a Wavetool chat. So I can easily select so that I just say, I'm going to spare to Wavetool master, for example. And from here, I can also send a flash message. So now if I go to my main window, I can see that the iPad sent me this wonderful message. So that is Wavetool chat. So far, as a kind of a mid summary here, you can monitor up to 128 audio channels, and then from any audio source. So you can have it to be Dante or MADI or AVB or USB device or mixture of those. Then you can monitor RF levels. So I probably jumped a bit. So if I again open up the Zoom window, 5-minute Zoom window, I just put on the audio level, but I can also put on the antenna A, B, and quality level. To be able to show that, I probably need to take the antenna off a bit because I'm so close to the receiver, and then I can take the quality level off, and you can see that the antenna A and B level drops at the same time. So here it's easy to see with the one view the whole thing: audio, antenna A, antenna B, and the quality of the receiver. On this window, you can also do your speaker or actor profile. So you can drag and drop and add a picture of the speaker or actor. You can say real name, role name, and some comments like remember to wear the lav on the left side or anything you want. On this view, you can also see at the same time the battery life of that transmitter. So 128 audio channels, and then the RF levels, A and B antenna, transmitter battery life, quality level, and then not for one device, but for 5 different devices. So one has to be the master Wavetool that gets in the audio from the audio source and gets in the control data from the most well-known wireless receivers. And then you can have up to 4 clients, which are either iOS devices or another Mac computers running Wavetool remote software. Next feature I'm gonna show it will be called mic check. At some point we kind of investigated how people check microphones on gigs or on concerts or shows, and it seems like people have a paper and pen, and then they have maybe microphones 1 to 24 is for John, and then Catherine's gonna check microphones 25 to 40, and then they before they hand out the pack or the microphone, they will mark, yeah, this is checked before Act 1, especially in theaters. So we wanted to do kind of a distributed way of the same in the Wavetool, so that anyone in the Wavetool network could check or uncheck microphones, and then you would have one place where to see who checked it when, and that's not for one act but between 4 acts. So I'm just gonna first, before going to mic check mode, I'm just gonna reset all acts. Then I'm gonna go to Act 1, and it shows my channels red here. If I click this 1.5 second, it will turn it green. So this is pretty easy to, I can first solo a channel and listen to the audio and like, okay, this is fine, this is good to go on stage. And then I click it and mark it green. But I still have these other red guys, so I can go to my iOS device and go to settings and put the mic check mode on, go back, and then I can check these guys like this. And the same thing, I'm gonna go to my front of house computer, go to mic check mode, and check the rest of the microphones like this. If I go to my main computer, I can open up a mic check window. And in this window, I can see all the actors or all the microphones which are checked green, they're good to go. And per act, you can do a marker to be checked. So for Act 1, you wanna know that these guys here will be good to go on stage. So you can say, okay, these needs to be checked, but not these 2 guys. So now everything is green and we are good to go. You can also add a note like, you know, need to be checked twice, or some additional note for yourself to remember how to check it. Then I can go to Act 2, and I can see that there are different channels to be checked and that they are not checked yet. So again, I can check a couple of these channels, and these are now independent from the Act 1. So if I go back to Act 1, I can see that these are still green. And I can then, if I want to, after the show, I can reset this current act, which is Act 1, like this. So again, before the next show, I need to check it before I can say to the stage manager that, okay, now we're good to go. So that is a mic check mode on Wavetool. Then I already showed you the hard solo. So if you solo a channel for a couple of seconds, it will turn white, which means that the solo clear doesn't unsolo it, doesn't clear it until you press it a couple of seconds. And I also showed you that we have some couple of groups here. I've now done just 3 audio groups, one being on stage, one off stage, one is band. So if I solo on stage group, I can also hard solo this group to be so now all the channels are hard soloed within this group. And then I'm going to show you the next feature of Wavetool, which is called snapshots. So I have now soloed on stage group, and if I go to sound check, I know that everyone's going to be on stage on that snapshot or scene. So if I select that snapshot, you can see that all the guys here are yellow. And by the way, I muted this channel so you don't hear it twice through my microphone and through Wavetool. If I then go to first scene, you can see that I got the yellow guys still soloed, or second scene or third scene. So this is easy way to do a kind of a queue list where you can decide which group members are on or to be checked or whatever per scene, and you can automate that to follow, for example, front of house console MIDI commands. I can show that you later, or you can drive it from by yourself manually from here. But it's easy way if you have, let's say you have 80 microphones on stage and it's a theater play or some corporate stuff which is being rehearsed many times after and after again, you will know that on the first scene there's going to be these guys, these yellow guys on the stage. So it's easy to follow who's on stage or who's off stage, or you can do the groups like girls and boys, or ensemble, or whatever is the best solution for your show. But this feature is called snapshots, and you can easily then program the groups and snapshots to follow your show, for example, for your QLab or your mixing console. So now we've gone through the basic functions. So audio listening, RF monitoring, mic check, and then a couple of things like snapshots here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to start from the scratch. So I'm just going to reboot the Wavetool and start from zero, so that we will make a new show file from the scratch. By the way, now that I still remember, you might have seen that we are giving out 30-day Wavetool Platinum Bundle licenses. So if you're interested to try at your home with your whatever audio device you happen to have home, you can send us a email to support@wavetool.fi, and we will reply with a 30-day Platinum Bundle license with all the features enabled. So now I'm just going to quit Wavetool and then open it up back again. And when you open Wavetool, it will first ask you your input and output device. In this case, I'm going to choose my aggregate device, which is the loopback virtual sound card, which is getting the band channels from Reaper, which I'm playing on another computer here, and down to virtual sound card to get the Dante audio from the Accent Digital receiver, which I'm using here. And my output device could be a different device. In this case, I'm sending it out to Soundflower virtual sound card so that you can hear the audio at the GoToMeeting platform. From here, if you want to change any audio settings in your core audio devices, you can open up the window directly from here. You can open up your previous configuration file, which I'm not going to do here, but instead I'm just going to say confirm, and it will open up a empty file. And because I'm playing still the Reaper tracks, you will see some audio on channel 1. I'm just going to stop the Reaper right now. The main thing to get the patch your channels is to go to channel IO. In channel IO, I can only now see one channel, but I can add either a single channel or I can add many channels, for example, 126 channels. And now I got all my 128 channels right here. I can name the channel by, and double enter takes you to the next channel, like this. Then here's gain. I can gain the channels up and down. So for example, if you're using, if you take MUDI from Digico stage rack, for example, it has a gain stage. So the signal is gained already, and it's probably sitting where it should be. But if you take directly from the receiver, the Dante, and it's running on a low gain on the receiver end, you might need to gain it up a bit. So here you can go up to plus 28 or minus 18 or anything between. Then you can, of course, always select many channels with Shift and with your mouse. You can decide, I showed you the panel A and B. So if you want to see your drums on a panel B, now I'm going to send those. So my first channel on panel A will be 11, and the first 10 channels are on panel B. Then I want to, if I would want to patch the audio channels within Wavetool. So I've done already the Dante patch side. So, and also from the Reaper, the tracks 1 to 10. I've done that already. But if later on you want to patch so that the kick drum is taking in some other channel, for example, 117, I can type it here, or I can do so that the snare drum is channel 1 and kick drum is channel 2. So if you want to do a cross patch, it's possible also within Wavetool. Then I show you the snap, crackle, and pop algorithm, which detects the unnatural audio signal. And you can turn it on and off per channel. So for example, for the drums, I would definitely turn the SCP off. Also, you probably noticed that when I took the antenna off my transmitter, there was a blue RF warning. If you don't want to see that, you can take it off per channel. Then there's a column called Instant Replay. I know that channel 21 will be my channel. I'm going to name myself Timo here and then put Instant Replay on. As soon as I tap on the instant replay, you can see the upper right corner that it takes 0.06 gigs of my memory of the computer. If I keep on adding other channels, you'll see that there's going to be the number is going to go up. I would say when you are using half of your memory, of computer memory, this number will turn red. I have 16 gigabytes of memory here. I'm pretty sure I could do instant replay recording for, let's say, around 80 to 100 channels. If I'm using 4 gig memory, I wouldn't go more than 24 channels. So luckily, most of the Mac computers nowadays, if you buy a new one, I think the minimum amount of memory is 8 gigs. So you should be fine with 60, 70, 80 channels of depends on whatever else you use on your computer. So instant replay can be turned on and off per channel from here. So if I close this, I'm seeing my own voice through the Dante in this channel. But I also want to see the RF level and the battery level like before. And to be able to do that, I need to patch this receiver channel with this audio channel. So in Wavetool, there's a wireless device or IP list. And in this list, you can see all the supported devices. So in this list, you would need to add all your receivers. You need to do it only once, but you have to add a static IP. So for example, in this receiver, accent digital receiver here, my Dante is on another network, but the control network is 1.7. And if I would change this IP to be 1.8, you will see that the ping disappears here. So that's the first indication that you don't have a connection between your computer and your receiver. So let's see what is my computer IP here. I go to network. So my Ethernet connection is 192.168.140, and my accent digital receiver is 1.7. So they are in the same subnet, and this is what needs to be done before the connection can be established. So it has to have the same subnet and the same subnet mask to be able to find the device. We don't have auto discovery like if you have shared device in the same subnet with wireless workbench, you will automatically find all the devices. The reason why we don't have the auto discovery is that we are supporting so many different protocols. Like you can see here, we support Bayer, Electro, Sennheiser, Shure, Sony, and Visicom receivers, and they all already within the Shure platform, they are using different protocols between UHFR and ULXD, and then adding a Sony and Visicom. The only way to get the information from the receiver to Wavetool is to have a static IPs for the receivers and for the computer Ethernet port. There's a way, if you happen to use shared devices, there's a way to import from wireless workbench. I'm just going to quickly show it to you. Let's see if I have wireless workbench right here. Now open it up, and it will see my receivers just in a second. Come on. There we go. And it sees that I have some ULXD and some Accent Digital receivers here. Well, on the reports, there's a firmware network summary report. If you generate that report and export it as a CSV file and put it to your desktop, your IPs. And then we can close Workbench. And if I now go to Wavetool Wireless, no, that's wrong menu. Wavetool Wireless IP list. I can now import the IPs, sure IPs, and bingo, I got these two receivers. With the two receivers, it would be really easy to just manually type it, but if you happen to have 10 or 20 devices, it's much faster way to get the IPs by just importing them. Unfortunately, this at the moment, this only works for shared devices. After we've pinged the receiver, we can go back to channel IO. And in this channel IO, there's a wireless device drop-down menu. And from this menu, I can see all the channel names that I have here. And I haven't named the Accent Digital channels yet. So they are channel 1 and 2. So I'm going to patch the channel 1 to Timo channel. And as soon as I do that, I can start seeing the RF level. I can start seeing the battery life and the quality level as well. As well as if I open up the Zoom window, I can start seeing the point in time where I started receiving the receiver info like this. Then if I go back to channel IO, I can also pan the channels. So let's, if I have keyboard left, keyboard right here. So I can easily pan these two channels to be all the way left, all the way right. Then I can link them. So if I link this, put it on link group 1, close it. So here's my keyboards. If I then solo just the left channel because they are linked, I will hear both, and they will be panned so that it's a bit nicer in the ears of the A2. Also, now that I remember, one pretty good thing to do is to have a, for example, front of house mix. So you could assign 2 channels, let's say 51, 52, and route the analog audio or whatever, like networked audio, from your console to your Wavetool computer, and then have the kind of a show mix in your ears all the time. You can gate it down so that you barely hear it, but you can easily hear what's going on. And then if you want to get rid of it, you can just solo clear it. There's a way to do an auto solo here. So if you want to always hear, let's say, these keyboards right here. So I've auto soloed keyboard left and right. And you can see that they are a bit dimmed. If I solo channel 19, the solo selection will be cleared. But as soon as I unselect this channel, it will revert to keyboard left and right. So this is kind of an easy way if you have your program mix, for example, in Wavetool, or your intercoms. There's a way to always go back to your kind of a go-to channels, being it program mix or intercom or your main vocal, which needs to be monitored. Also, talking about intercoms, one thing that people have done in, for example, TV shows is that they send Wavetool output to intercom auxiliary input, so that they can then, with their iPhone or iPad, they can remotely listen to any audio channel that goes into Wavetool, and at the same time they can hear the comms, and they can normally talk to comms, but if they want to solo, if they hear like now there's a problem in channel 27, they can go directly to that channel without moving another headset, but just using the same intercom headset. So that's a nice way to do a corporate show where you want to hear comms all the time, but you want to add some audio listening to it. Now I want to create a actor picture and a profile for the Timo channel, and that is done in Players menu. So if I open up Players, there's my cast from my previous musical, but I'm gonna do another one. So I'm just gonna add a new player, and this is gonna be real name is Timo, and that's my role name. No mic to this guy, and then I'm gonna browse image. I hope I have there's one picture. So there's my player now. I save it, and just like with the wireless device, there's a drop-down menu for players, and then I'll go for Timo channel, find Timo as Rambo, and here we go. I got the picture on the background, so it's easy to know, especially if you have a theater show and you have a new cast and you have 40 different new people. You don't know who they are. It's really nice to add the pictures both to your iOS device and for your macOS computer, and it's easier to see that, okay, that's John, that is Timo, and that is Catherine. So that's kind of a really simple way to recognize who's who. And now if I open up the timeline, I have my picture here and the comments that I added. If I go back to the players menu, just want to show you that you can easily load and save the whole cast for your show. You can order the people by their real name or role name. If you import HD images, let's say you import 40 images and they are all 40 meg, it's not going to be really good for the iOS device because it's going to transfer the pictures through Wi-Fi, and that's quite a lot of bandwidth that it needs. So you can easily just press this button. It says it will replace your current player images with smaller ones, and you can compress all your player images so that they fit better to your show file. Then I want to do a couple of audio groups and snapshots. So I go to Groups and Snapshots window. And first thing what I need to do here, there's a bit ugly looking window, but I need to put the edit on. So if the edit off is selected here, you can't edit anything. So you need to have edit on, and then you can say the first snapshot or scene will be sound check, and the groups will be, the first group will be band, second group will be boys and girls. And then I'm gonna add the 6 first channel, the band, and the channel 22 will be girls, and then there's a couple of boys right here. And you can adjust your group colors down here. So the maximum group amount is 8, and you can adjust the group colors. So for example, if you want your group 1 to be orange, just go for it. And that's my first snapshot. So I have snapshot 1 here, sound check, and then I got my band got my now I remember. I have all the band channels on the panel B. Just gonna put it back to panel A like this. So here's my band channels, boys and girls. Then I'm gonna do a next snapshot. So I'm just gonna go edit on and add snapshot. But before I do that, I want to copy data so that it copies the previous selection, so I don't have to do it twice. And then I'm gonna do the first scene, and I already have the group names here from the previous snapshots. But I could say that on this snapshot the group name is different from the snapshot 1. But now I just gonna change a bit of the selection so that you can see the difference. So if I go to sound check and then the first scene, there's a small difference in who is belonging to the group boys and girls, like this. So that's pretty easy to do. Then I'm going to just realize that I don't get the audio to my channel anymore. And there must be a reason. I'm just going to open the Dante controller to see if I have the Dante patch on still. I seem to have some Dante issue. Let's see what's going on. So I have that one there. And then one more time to Dante controller. There we go. So there was some glitch on the Dante virtual sound card, but when I turned it off and on again, it came back to life. That's strange. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to show you that I have my Accent Digital and my ULXD devices, and then I have my computer. So I patched the 8 Accent Digital receiver channel 1 to channel 11, because first 10 channels are from the loop back, and then the next channels are from the Dante virtual sound card. So when I added the receiver to channel 11, it actually means 21 because the first 10 channels are from the loop back. In channel IO, there's also the audio output channel. So now you can see at the upper left corner that I'm adjusting master Wavetool channels. If I go to client 1 or client 2, I can here drag and drop their channels to a different positions like this. So now if I go to my front of house computer, just gonna take the mic jack off, you can see that I moved the kick drum to be here instead of channel on the first channel. So in this channel IO window, you can adjust the gains and your pans independently for every master and 4 clients, so up to 5 different listening stations. So on the master, I have gained kick drum +4, and here the kick drum is still 0. I can also, if I've done a perfect layout for my master Wavetool, I can go to client 1 and copy layout from master, so I don't have to do it many times. So now I have the pans and gains set up exactly like it is on the master Wavetool. And this is also the place where I choose my audio output channels. So I'm sending it to Soundflower 1 and 2, which is coming to the GoToMeeting platform. And then I could, for the client 1, which could be the front of house computer, I could set it to be 3 and 4. And the iPad, if I want to hardwire the iPad output as well, I could set it to be 5 and 6, for example. Depends on your audio device. What else? On chat side, you can also use the function keys of your keyboard to send the chat macros. And from F12 or selecting this menu item, you can clear all your chat messages. For example, if your lead singer is walking to you and you just said something bad about her, it's easy just to clear before something stupid happens. Just thinking if we went through all the settings of things. So the preferences menu, I'm just gonna dive into this one for a couple of minutes. In general preferences, you saw this snack, crackle, and pop warning. You can set the sensitivity to from low to high. Depends. If you have a drummer next to you, just set it low. If you have a panel meeting with just speech microphones, you can set it high, so that if someone takes out if it's, let's say there's a 10 SM58 and someone takes out the XLR, if it's on high, it will show that channel to you. So it's really easy to see which microphone is detached. You can disable all warnings. So if you set up your show, you have a phantom on all channels, you don't want to see any warnings, you can just disable them for the setup. You can adjust the RF alert and the battery alert from here. So for example, now I got 5 hours, almost 6 hours left. 6 hours times 6 the minutes is 360. So if I set that to 360 minutes and save and close, it will show my channel yellow because of the low battery alert. So you can decide how dry you want to run your batteries and get the alert, let's say in this case 60 minutes before they dry out. Then I'm just gonna put some settings here. Yeah, so then there's a audio buffer here. You can set it to 64 samples, but if you use, in my case, I use 2 different virtual sound cards, so there's no hardware sound card in use. I tend to put it on 128 samples, it makes the latency of the software from 2.6 to 5.2. It doesn't matter for me, but it's more reliable with the virtual sound cards. If you would have a, let's say, RME multiphase or any hardware proper audio device, you could easily set it to 64 samples. You can choose if the channel metering is pre or post gain. I would always keep it on post gain if you gain the channels, so you can actually see if you're clipping channels by gaining it too much. Then there's a single solo, additional solo mode. So this is pretty, it's normal from all the mixing consoles. So if it's single solo, it will cancel the previous selection. But if it's on additional solo, it will add the next channel to the solo as well. Here's your long click duration. So if you want to do the mic check really fast, or if you want to set your hard solo fast, you can put it to 0.7 seconds. I usually have it on 1 or 1.5 seconds so that I don't accidentally hit it and solo something I don't want to solo. On the display preferences, you have your audio curve, RF curve, antenna A and B, and quality curve colors. You can also adjust your line, audio and RF line width. So if you put it on 2, apply, you can see that it's a bit thicker than with this selection here. You can show channel strip title either by channel strip name, player role name, which is now Rambo, or real name, which is again Timo, and or wireless channel name, which was channel 1. So it depends on what you want to see. Then there's a player image opacity. So I can now barely see my picture on the background, but if I crank this level up a bit, I can see myself very clearly here. Or if I want to turn this all out, and there you go, I don't see the picture anymore. You can also flip the channel strip labels so that if you're used to see the transmitter info down here and your name up here, you can just flip the channel. So now my name is up here, but this is really strange for me, so I go back to normal. Or you can reset all the settings to Wavetool defaults. On a chat preferences, you can use your you can choose your chat username. You can need to open up the chat window. So here I can choose my chat font size and also the macro button scale. If you have a tiny screen, you probably want to put the chat box as small as possible, and then you would need to choose a small macro button scale to be able to scale it all the way down. Here are some chat macro buttons. So if you want to name this first button no instead of yes, you can do it here. You can also MIDI learn these buttons so that you can launch them by MIDI. It can be done from external mixing console or QLab or any software hardware sending out MIDI, so that if you don't have time to write and use your keyboards, you can easily just program the Yamaha CL5 to send out the MIDI message. Probably have a QLab here, so if I QLab, I can try to show it to you. Let's see how this goes. So if I do a new MIDI queue and then select chat macro 1 MIDI learn, and then I say go, it doesn't work. Yeah, I need to check it. Anyway, you get the idea. So basically you can program, I'm just not going to use time for this, but you can program the chat macros to follow any MIDI just by pushing MIDI learn and then sending the MIDI message to your Wavetool. The same applies to your groups and snapshots. So if I go to the snapshot editor, here's snapshot 1 and 2. I can MIDI learn them, or I can type the bytes manually, but it's really kind of painful and slow. So I usually use the MIDI learn to do it from the console or from the QLab or whatever your software is. You can also send OSC messages to Wavetool chat. And here are probably a few different examples, and the format is here. So basically, if you know what OSC is, it's really easy to kind of send messages to your Wavetool chat by using the OSC. Down here, you can filter out your unwanted things from your chat. So if you don't want to see the SCP alert, so if I do the SCP alert by pulling out the microphone, you can see that it not only appears on the main window and the timeline right here, but you can also see that you have it on chat. So everyone who's in the Wavetool chat will get the warning about the SCP warning. Another thing is that if I patch let's patch this pair 1, which is a ULXD transmitter right here, and then I will turn on this transmitter and I will start getting the RF. And as soon as it will know the battery information, it tells me that there's 80% battery left and using only antenna B. I happen to have another transmitter with the exact same frequency, and that's not good. But let's see what happens if I turn it on. Oh, there's a RF interference on channel 10. Channel 10. So also not only on the channel I see that there's some problems on the RF, but also in Wavetool chat I get the interference information right away. And this is a specific feature for, again, for sure, Axient Digital, Axient ULXD devices. We haven't, from the Sennheiser, we don't get warning like this, so we cannot show it. And we haven't yet looked at the Lectro or Sony or Visicom receivers if we do get it from there. But if we do get it, we can add it as well. What else do we have here? Yeah, you can also add your own marker to timeline. So if there's if you hear a strange noise happening right now, you can either choose or use Apple M to add a marker to timeline. And then if I go to any channel's timeline with the blue trace right here, I can see that here's my marker. So I can go and again use the instant replay to investigate what was going on. What else? Just want to see that I've covered pretty much all the features and the ways to set up a Wavetool system. I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty close now with everything I wanted to show. Oh, there's one more. So let's think that you have a problem in your channel and it cannot be troubleshooted. So there's going to be one receiver and transmitter that has a problem, or audio channel, and you are using Wavetool snapshots. The problem is that whenever you go to the next snapshot, it will again come to the mix will be there. It will come to your ears, and then it's kind of annoying when there's like a strange noise all the time. So you can hard mute any channel. So you can select use long click as a hard mute, and you can just long click this channel, and this is now hard muted. So even if I solo it, it won't go to any output. But you can still go to your timeline and listen to what was the problem, but it won't come to your normal Q bus at all. Yeah, I think that's pretty much Wavetool features and all the basic functions. And so.
Well, it certainly has generated a lot of questions.
Okay, good.
And I think there's one that was right at the beginning that we could get out of the way, which is, will there ever be a Windows version?
Okay.
I know what I think the answer is.
Yeah. We have a frequently asked questions in our website, wavetool.fi, and it used to be always absolutely no. The answer for that question was absolutely no. Now I think it says we don't think so, or it's not that hard anymore. So, but to be honest, at the moment it's pretty difficult. The thing is that Apple is doing, for example, the audio streaming to the iOS device. It's much easier for us to do for Apple than it would be for Windows platform. Also, some other things that Apple helps in their framework for us, it's so much easier. So for example, testing, now we're testing just the iOS platform, but think about if we would be supporting Android devices, how many different Android things we have to test before we can say, yes, we support this. So at the moment, the
reality is it's a professional tool. It costs real money. It's not a $50 app. A Mac Mini is not that expensive.
Exactly. Also, when we started, we aimed to theater because they had so many different ways to do things, and they really kind of wanted to different features. And we listened to a lot of theater designers. Now, Wavetool is used on corporate, and it's used on rock and roll even, and different application churches all over the world. And we of course try to listen the feature set for everyone. But the theater world, why we chose also Mac platform, is that everyone's using QLab on theaters, and it's only for Mac. So most of the West End and Broadway theaters are using Mac anyway. So that's why that was one of the reasons why we chose the Apple platform.
Yeah, and it seems a reasonable choice. A couple of questions about monitoring RF within Wavetools. Is there a way to actually get? I know you're looking at the antenna tallies through the Shure data. Is there a way to get statistics of what antennas anything is actually using, or to see actual RF levels in the display rather than just the sum of the two antennas? Rather,
on the main window, I'm just gonna actually take this hard mute sign away. So on the main window, you see the sum of the two antennas because we just want to keep it clear and easy to see. But if you go to your timeline, you will actually see there's troubleshoot. So you will actually see the antenna A and B, A being the blue one and the B being the red one. We haven't added any DPM readouts yet. Again, if it would be just shared devices or Sennheiser devices or Electro, it would be really easy to add. At the moment, we have scaled this the same way that the manufacturers do, so that the top level and the bottom level is their top and bottom levels. So, but I understand the question that it would be really good to have some scale here where to see the DPM levels, and we're definitely thinking about it in the future. As I started in the beginning saying that this is not that much of a RF specialist tool, like RF engineers are not using that much of Wavetool. They use more like, of the tools, and they understand what that means. If you have a showroom in a conference center and there's an AV tech spreading out the microphones, she or he doesn't care about the actual DPM readouts that much.
Okay. How about along the same lines, frequency data? Like, for instance, in the Yamaha integration with various consoles now, you also get the frequency data displayed.
Yes.
And other consoles, not just Yamaha.
That's a good question. We have on the main window, we don't have much space to add the frequency. Some of the receivers we actually have added it already. So let me think. Electro, Sony, some of the Sennheiser receivers that we support, we already show the frequency of the device, and that's kind of us being lazy, really, because we could add it really fast, and we always talk about it, and then there's another thing to improve, and then like, oh, we forgot it again. So there you go.
Okay, and since you brought it up, about the size of the windows, can the individual channel boxes be made bigger if it's lower channel count? I mean, you've got huge number of channels on the screen, but if it was 20 channels, could the grid be
at the
bigger?
moment? No, we've had that request before. So there's been people asking, like, could you scale your primary, like four main channels to be 3-4 times. In the version 1, we had the whole grid being 8x8. Now you can actually scale the grid however you wish, but still the channel box is fixed. So that is the answer now. But again, if we find a way to do it easily, or if we find a way to do it, then we probably would do it at some point.
And I don't know whether you actually mentioned this, but can the various desktops, like the iPads, and if you have multiple computers, can they be identified by their location, so it's easy for users to?
Yeah. So if you go to, I didn't actually mention it, but if you go to Channel IO, you can give them a friendly name. So
Okay.
down here you can name it for the chat. But if you also want to name because this is now client friendly name, but you can, so let's say this is front of house. There you go. So
okay.
So now that will be,
Yeah,
you can see it in the
was
chat
pretty
as
easy to
well.
do. That was pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I just forgot probably to mention.
we had a question about Dante Domain Manager. Is any compatibility issues with including the system within a domain manager system?
There shouldn't be. I mean, from Wavetool point of view, we just look at the core audio devices in Mac. So, for example, if you are able to get the audio into your Mac to any program, like if you are using, Pro Tools or any other audio program, and you can get the audio in, you will get it to Wavetool as well. So, from our point of view, we just look at what core audio devices are available, and then you can choose any of those. As long as the sample rate for the input and output device is the same. So if you have your output device set to 96K and then input device 48, Wavetool will say, so you have to change something before opening up the show file.
Also referencing Dante, can the channel names be connected to the Dante controller names after you've named them in Dante controller as a system names? Can they appear in Wavetool without having to retype everything?
We have so good questions here. Like obviously some of the listeners, because we have had this before. The answer is no. Again, us being a bit lazy. So there is a way to pull the names from the Dante stream. We haven't done it, but it definitely, I understand the pain, because if you've done it already, why you have to type it twice? And it absolutely makes sense for us to implement something that you just say, use Dante names instead of your own names.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that was the ones I took notes of. Let me see what we have here. This is one I should know the answer to. It's a question from John Christie about compatibility with AES 67 or Ravenna multicast streams. I mean, if you're using Dante Virtual Sound Card, that's really a virtual sound card to AES question, but how do you deal with that?
Well, if you have, I know that some our clients are using AES67 to get the audio in to Wavetool. It's just a matter of the sound card. If you happen to find a sound card that takes in Ravenna or AES67, if there's a virtual sound card for it, then you'll be able to use it. So to be honest, I'm not too familiar with. Most of our clients are using MADI or Dante or AVB, and then those are the main audio streams that we see coming into Wavetool. But again, if you have a audio device that can take in AES67, I believe, is there a way to use the DBS for AES67 as well?
That's what I'm not sure of. Actually, Timo, if we're not looking at your screen right now, could you unshare your screen? You're breaking up a little.
Yes.
Maybe we'll reduce the load on the.
Yeah, it might be.
On Zoom.
Better.
So you receive OSC information because you could use OSC to send chat notes. Could you get OSC from something like DMB's DS100 soundscape system, which can send tracking data via OSC messages, so that you could change scenes perhaps based on OSC messages from soundscape?
At the moment, we use OSC only for the chat messages, but as we know how to deal with OSC, it would be fairly easy to implement the snapshot change, follow OSC as well. We haven't done it yet, but that's totally possible. And again, good suggestion for a feature in Wavetool.
Here, Matt Dene is asking two separate but related questions. Is it possible to add a time stamp to the alert line on the instant replay? This way, when you export audio, it shows the exact time the issue happened. And along the same lines, is it possible to export audio for all channels at the same time?
So for Matt, there is a way to add the timestamp, or well, you can add the marker on the timeline. So with a Apple M, you can add the blue marker on the timeline, and then when you export the audio and the screen capture, you will see it on the screen capture, your marker. But at the moment, it's only possible to export one channel at a time from Wavetool. We haven't had anyone to ask to export all the channels. Well, it's possible. It would be 100 channels, 5 minutes audio. It wouldn't be that big deal nowadays. Maybe 5 years ago, that wouldn't be a big deal for the computer trying to do that like this while still recording and playing back at the same time. And so at the moment, it's only possible to export one channel.
Dan Newbom asks, is there a way to temporarily override a stereo pair when you're soloing?
Override. No, you have to go to, you have to go to channel IO
and break the stereo pair.
Break the pair. Yeah. I'm just wondering, because it would be, for the software, it would be really easy to do a way to break it, but I'm just thinking about the user interface side, how to do it so that you don't have to add another button just for that, because it would probably be used just like once in a year, and then but at the moment it's not possible.
Ville Karkanen asks, Timo, have you thought about making video tutorials diving deep into all these wonderful features? Cheers from Latte Carcass.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Hello, Will. Yeah, we're friends. We would need to do a lot better videos. That is also a fact that our videos are getting a bit old, and we have a lot of new features on version 3 that is not covered in in any of our old videos. But Ville, if you want to, you can look this recording many times. So here's your first video.
Question about the example of Maddie questions. I'm assuming it's just a USB 3 or a FireWire, like RME, or like a Digico USB MADI interface. Just a hardware interface.
Yeah, any MADI interface that you can see in your core audio, at least on your audio MIDI setup of your computer, will do. So a lot of people use RME, different types of RME.
Yeah, certainly it's popular in the theater world.
Yeah, exactly. But there are a lot of others as well. On a broadcast, people use still a lot of MADI instead of Dante. So there's a lot of different devices that can be used with Wavetool.
There's something in here. Where'd it go? There it is. John Christie was asking about the possibility of streaming RF levels for where we're, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Hang on. John Christie, I've lost your question. I'm looking for it. I can't find it. Oh, any chance you could port in active scan data from external spectrum analyzers like the Axion ATX 600 in continuous scan mode?
This is the first time anyone asked this, so
Gotta be first time for everything.
exactly. It's hard to answer. I guess the only place where you could import your RF scan would be the timeline of Wavetool, but I don't really know if that would be too useful, especially if you're using some Lectrosure Sennheiser professional system already. I'm not sure. They probably do it much better than we would. So
yeah. So Kelly or Pete, do you see any questions that I've missed?
I was interested in finding out how you did several iOS remote pads on the big Swiss show with 4 different Mac masters.
so yeah, so they had Yamaha Dante cards that can take in 128 channels per computer. So they had 4 different Mac computers, and every single one had a Yamaha 128 channel audio interface. And then they had a huge Dante matrix where they could route any channel to any computer. And then basically they had 4 computers in a control room, and then they had the fibers. So basically an Ethernet connection to any fiber line going to more than 1 kilometer away from the purposely built stadium for that show, and then they had there an access point. So basically they had an iPad, and they took Wi-Fi connection to that access point, which was through the fiber wired to the Macs in a control room. So then they had
iPad only had one of the 4 computers on it. It
yeah.
didn't have
So
a combination of them.
Yeah, they only had one. In the miking up position, they had one iPad per one computer, but they already had they actually probably had 2 or 3 iPads per one computer, because they had so many channels that it takes a lot of time to mic up 100 people with the wireless belt packs and all that.
Was this Eurovision?
No, it was. The name is so hard to pronounce for me. It's Fetede something.
Yeah, the name was on the photo.
Yeah, it's they do it like every 20 years. They do a show.
Every blue moon, right?
Yeah, something like that, and it's a crazy show. Yeah, I can send. It's actually a really interesting setup which they did there.
Ryan is asking, do rental purchases count toward future purchase option?
At the moment, no. Our licensing doesn't allow that. The licensing platform doesn't allow that. So the rental, it doesn't work like QLab does. At the moment, the rental license is a rental, and then if you want to purchase it later, you will need to you pay the full price. Although we are looking forward to if we find a solution where we could do it easily, so that if you rent it first, it would be a bit cheaper if you purchase it.
Kenneth Goodwin wants to know, can you set your jitter buffer for each Wavetool device?
Yes, you can.
He sort of said longer for sound check and shorter for show. I would think you'd want it the other way around personally, but do the do the manufacturers freely share data interchange format with you? Or do you have to reverse engineer that?
No, we have a great relationship with all the manufacturers, and there's actually there's a one device that's pretty much reverse engineered, which is Sennheiser 1046, and the only thing was that there was no Sennheiser didn't have any more manual for how that was done. So, but it was also done with Sennheiser. So we had to change some things to make it work because it's really old device. I don't know when it came up, but it was early 90s when it was released. So like what 30 years ago. But that's the only device. All the others are done with the manufacturers, and they provided us. You probably see some receivers on my left-hand side here, and we got 68 channels of wireless here, and they are all the manufacturers' gear that is here for permanent testing, so that whenever we come up with a new firmware, or if they come up with a new firmware, we can check that it actually still works, that we don't break anything on a new release.
For Kenneth Goodwin, is soloing a group a preset? Or is it done a different way?
Now I don't understand the question, sorry.
He says, is there a way to solo a group that you make in Wavetool?
Yeah, he explained that.
Yeah. So, basically, yeah,
that's a preset, right?
You can build your group and then you can solo it, or
right.
So it's not a preset. You have to build your when you open up a.
What I'd like to know is if you wanted to solo different combinations of stuff, that would be
you can do it. So, yeah, you can have the same channel belong to different groups. So you can have so you can do whatever any combination.
Rob Peretti asked a question about RF, and it does nothing to do with Wavetool. He's asking about watching for rogue RF carriers and stuff like that. That goes with your wireless workbench or with your other equipment. Yes. This is not an RF tool.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much it. Come on, people. Is that all the questions you've got? You haven't even broken the 100 barrier.
And of course, they have the email that's, we put up. Maybe we'll throw that back up real quick here, Pete.
I mean the opening card.
The opening card, because we've got, Timo's address up there, the support address.
And the free license.
The free 30-day. Because I think a lot of this, and we know this is a challenge, that right now we're not all in front of our gear. So we're kind of like just sucking all this in, and we're like a big loaf of bread soaking in some milk, and at some point, I want to get back out on show site, and I'll try these, and a lot of these ideas are gonna be able to get put in place and test. Selfishly, I just did see a question that came in before we go from Henry. Can the antenna traces accommodate Axient's quadversity feature, right? So 4.
At the moment, no. It does show the active antennas. So instead of A and B on the main page of Wavetool, it will show A, B, C, D. But on the timeline, we have added just the A and B at the moment. However, the information is there. So the C and D they are really easy to add. But at the moment, it's not there. But
Okay.
I'll mark that up, and we hope to add it soon.
Right.
Yeah,
So when you
I have to
say
say,
active, go ahead, Mac. Go ahead.
I just have to say that although people are asking about features that you don't have, I have to say I was blown away by the features you do have. The
Thank you. Good
the
to hear.
the OSC chat messages and the automatic chat message on channel interference type events, amazing. And the 5-minute time window to go back and listen to the audio, amazing.
It never
We were
happened.
thinking about on the instant replay recording. We were trying to find a software that I can actually record 5 minutes or any amount of time, and while you play back, it will still record. So if you would take your Reaper or Logic or Pro Tools, you could easily record your channels. However, if you want to start listening to it, it will stop recording, and that's your problem, because as soon as you stop the recording, there's going to be the problem. So you will miss it, and that's why we wanted to do a ring buffer to Wavetool that actually all the time records.
Is it only 5 minutes, or if you only want to do one channel, can you do more?
At the moment, it's fixed 5 minutes for every channel. Again, we could be flexible with it, as more people use newer Macs with like 8 gig memory, that would be fine. When we released Instant Replay, there was a lot of people using 4 gigs, and then they put up 50 or 60 channels Instant Replay, and they say, yeah, Wavetool is a bit heavy and it doesn't work that well. It was like, how many Instant Replay channels do you have on? 57. Oh, okay. There you go. So that's why we didn't want to add it a longer time. But now I think we could easily do a way to add maybe 10 or 15 minutes, but then you can add it only on maybe lesser channels.
Just so you know, Pete'll never be happy. You'll never have enough time, and you'll never have enough channels, and that's okay.
I can break it.
You know, well, we have no doubt about that. Couple more questions, if you don't mind, Timo. You mind hanging on for just a minute? I mean,
I have all the time.
well, I love that answer. The legacy gear, Mac. You see these? I don't have the sheets open, but you see from Bob had a question just came in regarding EM 1046. You know, these might be that legacy gear, because I saw that too, and that kind of like brought back very fond memories.
Yeah, I remember when that was the Rolls Royce.
Right.
Yeah, Bob was asking if you could just go over again, I guess, the connections to the EM 1046 system.
Yeah, I didn't actually mention that. So basically, you need to use like a $70 Ethernet to serial adapter for it. On our website, there's a PDF about it. So it's basically just a really simple Ethernet to serial adapter, and you can use your existing serial cables from your old 1040 rig. So if you used to have I can't remember the names, but the frames, and then there was the kind of a adapter to go to PC computer. If you have those link cables, you can still use those to go to that box, like basically daisy chain all the receivers to this $70 serial to Ethernet, and then add just one IP on Wavetool, like any other receiver, and there you go.
Oh, look at that. Pete's already hitting the bottle.
I'm
And
ready.
then,
I'm ready.
Well, it's 5 o'clock where Timo is.
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly.
It is. It's past that, right? Net 1, I believe.
It's 9 o'clock.
Report. That's right. Let's see here. What was the other one that just came in?
Legacy.
Timeline. We got the legacy, the wired mics.
Right.
Yeah, Ike had a question about, I mean, asking if people do it. I don't know if they do, but it certainly sounds like a good thing, is that wired mics, like orchestra mics, could take bad cable, crackling, sure, Beta 98.
What?
So you could get those same messages actually from a wired mic, whereas the audio alert was sort of aimed at RF mics, but
No, you actually get it also from the wired mic. So basically, the algorithm looks for different unnormal audio forms. So, for example, if your samples next to each other is like way too far from each other, or the samples are being too high or too low, too long period of time, it will say here's the problem. And with the wired mics, the waveform will stay like this. Whereas if you use like old radio system with a compander, the waveform starts to go like bit like this. And for us, it's much harder to detect the problem from after the RF link. So basically, the SCP alert works better with the wired mics.
Well, there you go. SCP, snap, crackle, and pop. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, Mac, you see anything else? Pete, you see anything else?
No, that's it. Lots
I mean,
of thank you very much, and great show coming in.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Timo.
you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And so will this be available, Pete, Mac, on to watch later?
Oh, wait.
I'll
Can
have
we
to
start
research
it over
that.
again? Can we start it over again so I can record it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's right.
fine. I'll just grab a beer and
I think
let's do
Timo's
it.
got it on his timeline.
That's right. Well,
Easily,
anyhow,
easily.
everybody, thanks for joining us. Timo, enjoy what's left of your evening there. Thanks again.
Thank you very
Everybody
much.
reach out to Timo. This guy
Yes, please
is
do.
dialed in, man. And he is, I'm sure there'll be plenty of requests for more videos on your website, Timo, from this one. And for audio guys, we sure like a lot of videos and it works well. So that's it. Mac, Pete, have a good evening.
You too.
This is our only session today, which is
I'm going
kind
to
of
take
like,
the day off.
I know. I mean, it's like I have practically an eternity of a day left. Go figure.
Exactly.
This is only my third show of the day.
That's right. No, see, well, Mac's just showing off now. But thanks again, everybody. Have a good evening. Have a good day. And we'll meet you on the next one tomorrow. So long.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.